Well, welcome to See Hear Love, and we're so glad that you're joining us today for this conversation, the sandwich generation, the stress and squeeze. Just exhale. I can feel that now. Grateful to have you here and this panel with me to discuss this topic. Sue Wigston, welcome.
Thank you.
I love in your bio, your entire career has been driven by passion for people. Yep. You're definitely that. I know that you're a mentor to many. You are a speaker, a leadership facilitator, and coach, and you understand what it means to be in the sandwich generation. You understand the stress and squeeze in the season.
Do.
You do.
I do.
You're like 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm stressed, sometimes I'm squeezed, sometimes I'm both.
And clearly the visual for sandwich makes sense, right? All right, beside you, Trifina Paramala Gagnon, grew up a second-generation immigrant in Toronto. You're a writer, podcaster, blogger, educator, and you're currently living out the sandwich generation in your home. Is that right?
I am. And I have to be mindful of it, but yes, I'm homeschooling 2 neurodivergent children, and my mother-in-law lives with us.
So stress and squeeze, you are right in
I'm
there.
like a peanut butter jelly sandwich that's spilling out the side. That's what's happening.
Oh, this is going to be good. And Stephanie Rourke-Jackson, founder of Beacon Coaching and Leadership. Stephanie is a speaker and coach and knows what it means to support both children and parents in the sandwich generation. You know this.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's get going. But before we do, I just want to share why this topic really quickly, because a number of my girlfriends are in this sandwich generation. And they've been managing and trying to navigate taking care of their children, and whether they're young or adult children, and their parents. And in my conversations with them, wow, overwhelmed, loss, grief, sadness, challenges, and they understand stress and squeeze. And so when we're talking around the table, they're like, please do a show with women who get this. So again, we don't feel alone, that we can have tools and thoughts and wisdom from your panelists. So of course I brought the 3 of you to help me and my girlfriends understand what that means about boundaries, management, family, and all the things. So thank you. Thank you for being part of this very important conversation. So let's start off then. Have you, and all of you have said yes, but the stress and squeeze, what is your or was your reality within the sandwich generation?
Yeah, well, I started to notice the squeeze a lot when my kids were young adults, and we have a bit of a gap too. So our youngest was about 15, and my parents' health started to ail. In the last 5 years, unfortunately, I lost my brother, and then followed by my dad in 2020, and then that was just so much for my mom. So she passed away last year. So it's a lot to navigate because you're caring for them, you're supporting them, helping them out, taking them to appointments and all of that, while still trying to parent, high schoolers and run a job or a business and be a wife and all of the things. So there's a big squeeze, and it was really difficult. I would have to say that the last 10 years has been really difficult, and my parents have passed away now, and so have my in-laws. So it's eliminated, but now there's the grief.
Right. And I'm so sorry to hear about your parents.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it happens, right? Like we all know this day is going to come, but when it comes, even if it's expected, it's still shocking. And there's a lot of emotional, emotional overwhelm that you have to navigate. And then you have to organize a funeral.
Yeah.
The squeeze doesn't stop.
Yeah.
The squeeze doesn't stop because the emotions are still there.
Right.
Yes.
But you have to do logistics and banking and funerals, and it's a crazy amount of things that you have to show up for and have your wits about you, but inside you just want to crumble and you just want to curl up in a ball and maybe have your mummy hug you, and it doesn't happen anymore.
I love that you're at least you still have your wits about you. I don't know if I have my wits about me.
No, I'm saying
You're supposed to.
You're supposed to get things done, but you don't. It's gone.
I think for me, it's maybe I'm in a little bit of a different season than most of you, where my parents are healthy for the most part. They're definitely aging. I don't want to say sorry guys, but it's true, right? And so there's things that I'm more mindful of, right? And I think there's a preemptive grief, as with everything, where it's you see your parents get older, because the world is a different place without your parents. Also, my father-in-law passed away over a decade ago, and so he had lived with us when we did palliative with my husband and I. And so I had experienced that caregiving piece more than, although my mother-in-law carried a huge bulk of that. She was amazing. And right now, I do have my mother-in-law, we all live together. And we homeschool our 2 kids. And so I joke about the peanut butter sandwich, but it feels like a lot most days. But also there are beautiful parts of having her around, and the kids getting that relationship with their grandparents.
It's a brutal experience.
It's
right?
brutal.
That's a great way.
Brutal and beautiful.
Great way of saying it. I have to tell you, my friends often joke that I live in a delusional bubble, that I just never expect any of these things to happen to me. And my kids are now in their 20s and 30s, and so I thought, good, I'm kind of done raising kids, and they'll go off. And my parents have always been superhuman and so healthy and so active. And then you realize that even as your kids become adults, there's still breakups, and there's still mental health, and there's still job changes, and there's all those things where they still really need you. And then my superhuman parents, one has Alzheimer's and one just had a horrible accident and broke both of her legs, and all of a sudden you're in this instant care, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is real. It's real. And I didn't see it coming.
And don't you find, Sue, that your parents still want to maintain their independence?
Of
but
course
they can't,
do. Of course
right?
they do.
And you have to like manage helping them to have that independence and to make
Yes.
them feel like they can still take care of things. But behind the scenes, you've got to like, oh, mom's driving today. I don't think that's a great idea. Maybe you should go with her, you know?
Yeah.
So we've all sort of established. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was
Georgina.
just saying, parenting your parents
Yes.
is not for the faint of heart. Like, it is, because we all want agency, right?
Yeah.
And they raised us to have agency. But yeah, sorry, Mel.
No. It's, the sandwich generation, it is that where I think that it's expectations, it's managing, like you said, it's like there is a part of us, and maybe it's a Gen X thing, I don't know, but it's like you have your kids, and once your kids are done, then you're, empty nesters, we're free from all the issues and challenges. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, no. Now we're taking care of.
Now that they don't need us, they still really need us.
Yes, exactly.
What a privilege.
So let's talk about the navigating. You guys have touched on this as you're sharing about your reality and what the sandwich generation looks like for you and the experience. But how do you navigate through this? What does a day look like or a week look like with your parents and children? And what is the schedule and rhythm that you have to navigate through? And how do you feel about it?
I really struggled at first because my family all lives in Barrie and I live in Guelph. It's only an hour and a half, but the guilt of I'm not there, I'm not present day to day, and feeling overwhelmed that my sisters are having to take on so much. And so one of the best things that we did with my parents was we sat down with my mom and we actually just defined really clear roles. And so I am the power of attorney. I help with financial decisions, anything legal, all of those things I can take care of. And and my sisters step up and do the medical and do the, more of the home care. And that has been one of the greatest gifts in navigating this for me, is just giving myself the freedom from the guilt of I'm not doing enough. And then with my kids, it's been setting boundaries of, I am certainly here to help, but at the same time, there are things that you're adults now and you just have to learn and navigate on your own as well. Because the mama heart would love to just keep doing it all.
Yeah. Right, as I was saying, for a lot of us, it's probably like, I want to do everything, and then you feel burnt out.
And then you get burnt out, resentful, all of those things of just, then I just eat a bag of Ruffles chips.
Yeah.
Like, to
Which
be
is
honest,
okay.
yes,
Permission?
that was my coping mechanism of 2024. It was the Ruffles chips.
Can I just jump off of that, because we did something very similar, and I think that saved our relationship, me and my sisters, was because we all have different strengths and different desires to help our parents, to clearly define those roles. Like, I am the executor, and then my sister Jen, she loves to just be the nurturer and the helper and the carer. She'd bring meals and be there with them and stay over, and she could do that because her lifestyle was different than mine. I was still working, so I would do the appointments and some of the more nitty-gritty things. And then my sister lives in Florida. So, she would do anything that had to do with paperwork, and then she increased her travel too. So
okay, but what happens if you have a member of your family that doesn't want to engage or do this? I mean, that's a reality,
yeah, it's a reality
right?
for
The
some
hard
people.
part where then you're carrying things, because you can't force someone to step
can't.
in. You can ask, and I think you can.
And that's where I feel I'm very blessed. I actually would love to know,
I think too, you can maybe your cousins. Maybe you have a cousin that's close to you that gets it, that understands the family dynamic.
So really having a conversation about it.
Community.
Okay.
I think the important thing is to make sure that we're bringing together a community to provide the support that's needed.
Can I just ask a quick question? And sorry, Tiffany, next. But how do you manage where expectation of going to see a parent if they are in long-term care or whatnot in your schedule? Because I think there lies a bit of guilt for not showing up, or the expectation that you're supposed to go every day and see your parent. How do you manage that?
It is, so number one, I've actually had to just start scheduling in time. Okay, next Thursday, I'm gonna go spend the afternoon, spend the evening, stay overnight. And so for me, it is all about planning. I don't have the ability to just drop and jump necessarily, but I do have the ability to plan to be there more often. So for me, it's had to come down to planning.
Yeah, scheduling, organizing, and communication, making sure that everybody knows when you are available and then when somebody else is available, so that you're covering all the bases too.
Trifina, I know you
No,
said some things.
I'm just learning so much from all of you. I think what I love, the biggest part I'm taking away is the importance of communication. So I think the nuance to my story is I'm a child of immigrants, right? I have an Indian family, and my parents would never say this, and they're quite independent. But I'm like, the idea of putting them in a home would be like unheard of, right? And so even my father-in-law, like, he came in with us, and it was like, well, of course that's what's going to happen. It was just the way that I was raised, right? Not that my in-laws ever expected it. But I think what I'm learning from you is that you don't have to carry it all alone. Because what I think I've realized is I carry expectations, whether anyone puts it on me or not. It's like, oh no, but I have to be the perfect Indian daughter-in-law. And so I need to show up and do all the things. Why last night at 10 o'clock was I at Shoppers buying like Valentine's flowers for my mother-in-law, right? But like which is its own conversation, but it's like I put my own irrational expectations on myself that I need to check in because of my own cultural expectations, and realizing there are things that I need to loop people into.
And looping people in is really good. And medical practitioners, because we would step back and say, I don't want to tell my mom this. You need to tell her that. And then we'll just be supportive of like, this is the best decision, Mom, because you can't be independent in your own apartment anymore. A retirement home, a facility that's going to help you is probably the best thing to do. But it didn't come from us first. It came from medical practitioners who went through, it's not safe for you anymore. So that the pressure was off us from a personal standpoint, because the guilt is heavy.
I love thinking about that, just as you said it, the difference between our own expectations and what the needs actually are. Because I think if there is a lack of clarity between those two things, something's going to end up being in an unhealthy state. And set expectations together. I think that's so key, is that we're aligned on what the expectations are. Yeah.
So good.
How do you deal emotionally? I mean, you've got your mother-in-law right in your home. How do you manage the emotions or the feeling of responsibility or expectation?
It's so interesting. She's amazing, and I have amazing sister-in-laws who we can have conversations with. It's me. I have like wild expectations on myself. My guilt is constant if she comes up and the kids are on a screen, if I haven't gone down and said hi enough times. Like, it is me, and I'm realizing I need to begin to reassign what my values are and what do I care about. Like, am I just worried someone's gonna be mad at me, or am I worried that I'm doing it well? I love when you use the word quality time. Like, I go on Thursdays and I spend quality time. I'm learning like quality over quantity. When I go, I'm gonna be present.
That's good. That's good.
I do a lot of prayer.
Okay.
I did. Like, when I'd go to visit my mom, I knew the pain points that would frustrate me, and I just asked God, just give me gentleness and patience, because I don't know how much longer I have with her. So I don't want the last, months or years of our relationship to be one that's grating on my nerves, or we're both irritating each other, frustrating each other. And it happens. It does happen. We yelled at each other and screamed, and I'm like, Mom, this is not what I want. Do you want this? Okay, let's do something different.
Yeah.
Like, how can I go out the door and come back in and like, hi, Mom, how are you? And I learned too to let things go. Like, if she didn't have a shower in a few days, oh well, so what? Like, is that going to really matter? If she didn't eat the egg sandwich that we brought, who cares? She's not going to be malnutritioned. Like, she's in a place where they're going to, there's assisted care.
Yes.
Letting things go.
I think that's actually a really good point, Stephanie, in that, every moment is a gift. And whether they have dementia or Alzheimer's, they don't even know who you are. I think the presence and intentionality and choice, even if they don't know what's going on, for you to choose to be there, to be present, to lean in, and to love. I mean, love isn't about, I love you because you're going to give something back. Love is action. It's an action. It's giving of yourself, even if it's not even in return, to sit and love. And I say this because I've heard stories of people who have parents that are in long-term care, and they will go and visit, and their neighbors have not had a visitor in months. Months where no one has come to visit, and so there is that. There, you feel the pain of that person there and no family coming to see them for whatever reason. But I think that's really important as we look at this.
A choice that I have, or a discipline I would say that I try to practice is, of course, every time I go, especially my mom is getting much better, but when she was laying there just completely incapacitated, and my dad has good days and he has tough days, is choosing not to grieve while I'm with them. And that's hard because when I'm sitting there and I'm seeing them not who they maybe even were last week, just choosing to say, you know what, that's not going to be my focus. My focus is going to be how do I make this visit the best and really enjoy. And then, often the next week is, wow, you surprised me, you're amazing. And there is a time for that, but I also am not going to spend all of my time worrying about the future. I'm going to really try to appreciate and enjoy today.
It's good.
Yeah.
On that, let's talk about, as we've said, feeling like the peanut butter jelly sandwich and feeling sort of the stress and squeeze. How do we deal with the stress and expectations of being a mom, a wife, a caregiver with the expectations that we put on ourselves? Like, I think that's a big part of this. We can identify and focus in on sandwich generation, but I think it's a bigger conversation about expectations as women in our roles and what we do. So let's hear the wisdom. I want to hear it.
Well,
how do you do it?
I'm not a sandwich, I'm an Oreo. And as a kid, I always ate the middle first. And that's the same principle, is I know what I need to do to keep myself healthy. And I cannot be at my best for them unless so for me, that means sometimes 24 hours to just go up to the cottage by myself, have one night to myself, that drive where I listen to a book, an audiobook, and come home and I'm refreshed. Sometimes it's just, saying no to, people who want me to go out. I just need time at home. It's just taking care of myself, and then I have so much more to give. And that's hard to do, but again, I keep coming back to the word discipline. I just have to make those choices. I want to be my best for them. I have to be the best version of myself.
And it sounds so easy what you're saying, but it's so hard for us.
Why the word is discipline.
Yes, as women, because it's we will put everybody ahead of ourselves. And for whatever motivation that is, we put people ahead of ourselves, and then we are running on fumes and empty. And no wonder then we are exhausted, we're really snappy.
And we are not
tempers.
serving anyone well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we really need, and again, we've talked about this on the show, we've heard this before about filling ourselves up and getting healthy so we can be healthy to then be able to serve others. So that's really good, and intentional. And disciplined to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good.
I love that. This is going to sound like the most millennial answer.
Well,
but hey,
you are the millennial here.
I do a lot of Pilates. It sounds really silly, but 7 in the morning before the house is awake, I'm I need to move for me. And it has been such a saving grace in this moment to be I am putting myself and my body
Good
first
for
and
you.
my health.
It's good.
And
Good for you.
Mark will joke, he'll be you come home and you're just a kinder person. And I'm that's what I do, right? It's been that, and it's been just releasing expectations, allowing myself permission for my life to look really different. My life right now looks really small. We don't always have friends over. I don't say yes to a lot of things. I haven't been here in a while. And it's okay for me to say no.
Good for you.
Yes.
Good for you.
No is okay.
Yeah.
We've been saying this. I mean, there's the yes part, but the no is just as
No is
powerful
healthy.
and as healthy as the yes as well.
Yeah.
That's
And
really
if you're
good.
a person who, likes, is a people pleaser and wants to be kind, you say, no, I don't have the capacity for that right now, but maybe in 2 weeks, or ask me again. And for me, I have a lot of anger, so I pay attention to my emotions. I really tune into my emotions. And if I start feeling that anger and resentment and bitterness, I know it's because I've been doing too much, or my expectations for something haven't been met. And so I vocalize that. I punch pillows because it's better than punching people. I have a great circle of girlfriends. We're all the same age, and we have very similar situations because we all have kids who are teens or young adults, and parents who are ailing. And so we get together and have a glass of wine, and we talk about it with each other. What did you do? And we can cry with each other. And it's a safe space, but we feel like we understand each other, and we're going through the same thing. So there's that. There's journaling. There's going for walks. There's running and screaming. All kinds of things to help. But you need to get it out and know that it's okay. You're not weird.
No. We're all a little bit weird.
We are.
Take it. I'll take it.
Our faith in Jesus, as we, can't always be superhuman women, as we are navigating through kids and parents and care and finances and physical challenges and all the things that are involved in what we do, Jesus and our relationship with him and in community, how has that helped you as you navigate life and all the things that are happening?
I feel so incredibly blessed that my parents both share the same faith and my kids all share the same faith. And it's something that we all can actually experience together. Like that, I realize that that is a gift that not everyone has, but that has been such a comfort to me through this time, to just know that we are all drawing strength from the same place.
That's so beautiful. I love the image of Jesus weeping, because it just keeps coming back to me time and time again, that Jesus mourns with me for the grief that I'm experiencing. And I'm just also reminded, same, the story of Lazarus, Mary and Martha. Jesus valued sitting in conversation versus getting all the things done. So if I can be present with the people that I'm caring for, more than like my house being tidy and the bills being paid as much as they should be, like it's about my presence with people. And so I've really tried to lean into that.
Yeah, I've recognized that the commandment of honor your mother and father, is really important, because even when they do frustrate me or we don't see eye to eye, still honoring them, giving them dignity, giving them respect, telling them that I love them was really important for me, just to focus on that commandment and to know that there's really utility to it. That has helped ground me and see my parents too through the goodness of who they are, right? Not trying to find fault, but trying to find favor. And that lens, that perspective has helped me just to appreciate them and all of the things that they did for us growing up, so that I could still have that respect and not get so irritated. And I truly love them, really, as you said, as an action. What can I do? What do you need? How can I be there for you? Just asking that and then doing it.
What I'm hearing in this is we're looking at the sandwich generation and the stress and squeeze. There's so much. I'm hearing this deep love and intentionality and choice to be present and to love. And love is hard. Sometimes it's very hard to love those that are angry that you put them in a home, that are angry that their mental capacity is declining, that they're here, that there's so many things. But what I'm hearing and what we're learning is it's love. Like for us to really choose love in all these things. Love for ourselves. Loving ourselves to do really saying no is a loving thing to do. Loving ourselves enough to go away and get refreshed. But then also in the very difficult, hard spaces to love.
To show love.
To show love. To show love even when they may be throwing a shoe at your head or yelling or you don't feel loved in this situation. And again, I know that when we had a talk before this, we also said, we're talking about caregiving, but we also want to be loving and thoughtful for those that are the parents that are realizing where they're at now.
And desperately do not want to be a burden.
Yes.
And don't want to feel like a burden or be treated like a burden.
Right.
And that is that is my biggest fear, is that my parents would feel like a burden. And it's just you have done so much for so many years. Just let us love you. And just let us take care of you. And
And I think, Sue, when we're doing that too, we're modeling it for our kids, that they would learn to, love their grandparents in a different way. And then also,
and pay
hopefully down,
the
exactly, down the 10 years from
I'm modeling it for me, for when I get to that time and place in my
This is how
life.
you treat me when I'm in the retirement home, okay?
The one thing that keeps coming up for me as we're talking about love is sometimes when you are loving the people that you're honoring, they may also have been the people who hurt you. So what's coming up for you as your own childhood stuff is coming up or your own traumatic stuff is coming up? And so you talked about loving yourself well. And I think in this season, we really need to be mindful that we're parenting, we're reparenting, we're caregiving on all ends, and also get a good therapist.
Yes.
That has saved me in this season,
Yeah.
because there is stuff that is coming up that I would never have imagined, right? And realizing that there's a lot happening inside Trifina, more than just what I'm giving out right now.
Yeah.
So.
I think now is a time almost to take a pause, and even for our viewer and listener to say there may be a lot of things coming up here that we need some prayer for. Like we've got burdens and expectations. We are feeling the stretch and squeeze and all the things. And I think prayer's the way. So we have somebody 24/7 right now to pray for you at 1-866-273-444. If you're struggling today and you're feeling overwhelmed with your kids and parents, or life is really hard and not what you expected, we have someone who will listen to you, pray for you right now. Take a look at this.
We've had such trying days the last few months. Henry's health has taken a turn. Our savings are dwindling. But your prayers, they've been our lifeline. You've given us hope when we had none left.
We would love to hear from you and to pray for you today. Well, final takeaways, reflections, Steph.
I think that knowing that your parents are not going to be here forever gives you that insight and desire to want to spend quality time and to just show up as the best way that you can, like Jesus would, and to also still be able to parent your kids, like to be able to be there for them. So quality time, I think, and scheduling it.
I think lots of grace. Give yourself so much grace. There have been months where I've ordered like tiffin services or meal services, where I've asked like friends to come help clean. There are things that are just going to fall to the wayside because there are other things that you're carrying. And so giving yourself grace to allow that to fall and to be intentional with asking for help.
That's so good.
That's good, the grace part. Don't be so hard on yourself. It's like be kind to yourself.
You don't have to be the super person.
Right.
Good.
Yeah, I would say, friends who have lost their parents wish that they could have one more day, even the hard days, and friends whose kids have moved away wish that they were here, even if there were hard days. I would just say we need to learn to savor. Just savor and appreciate where we are today. It is all a privilege. It is a hard privilege, but it's a privilege that others would trade everything for.
And I realize every time I wake up, waking up every day is a gift. And again, even if it's been hard and your parents might not have been the super parents in your life, I think at this time, if you're in the sandwich generation, this may be the time where we show love and honor and grace to them. And forgiveness. Maybe this is also the time for some forgiveness and some deep heart work that needs to be done. And again, we're not saying this is easy. On this show, we're always saying things and everyone's like, it sounded so easy when you talked about it. It's like, no, we're all going through the hard work, but the hard work is the good work, the liberating work, the freedom work to have a life that, like you said, your kids will see you model love to your parents.
You're seeing the highlight reel. There's a lot of tears.
Yes, there are a lot of tears. We have cried and a lot too.
And Nutella,
You're right.
Cheers to Nutella.
Yes, Ruffles chips.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Sue, Trifina, Stephanie, for being here, for sharing your story. Much grace, love, peace to you as you navigate the sandwich generation. Thank you so much. And to you, our viewer and listeners, SeeHearLove.com has all the information about us. To sign up for our weekly newsletter that I write about the shows and about the stories in my own life, to listen to our podcast, download our Bible study guides, watch our past shows, and join our community, all on SeeHearLove.com. And make sure you follow us on Instagram for behind-the-scenes clips, inspiration to see where See Hear Love is, what we're up to, and where I am speaking across Canada, to know about the events that you can go to. And always know that you are seen, you are heard, and you are deeply, deeply loved by God. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye-bye.
See Hear Love thanks our partners who make this show possible.
Thank you for your ongoing support of Crossroads, a supporter-funded, nonprofit organization and member of the Canadian Centre for Christian Charities. Thanks to faithful people like you, we are able to continue producing See Hear Love. You can write to Crossroads, P.O. Box 5100, Burlington, Ontario, L7R 4M2, or visit crossroads.ca to learn more about our programs.